So, environment. What do we study in the environment, or what we usually come across, how the questions are changing? We are going to discuss only about that in today's session. Okay, that will try to give you an overview about the preparation or how this preparation journey goes. Right, you are all in the honeymoon phase. That in the first 3 4 weeks, it seems like everything interesting, everything you come across in the class is new. But let me tell you, there comes a next phase where there is a slow drop down of energy, there is a slow drop down of engagement. Be aware of that. Okay, make sure that this honeymoon phase goes about next 1.5 years. Then your success is guaranteed. Don't let your commitment or your engagement with your preparation goes down. Initially, in the first 1 or 2 months, it's already as if you become IAS, IPS. That is the confidence you have, but slowly that will dissipate. But don't give any space for that. Okay, so that I would like to share that to you. Now, environment. What do we study in environment? We study about ecology. This seems very simplified statement. We study about ecology in environment. But what is ecology after all? In fact, everything what we will discuss in the class, or what even UPSC asks in the question, can be summed up in this very definition of what ecology stands for. Anybody know what ecology means? Ecology na enna? Remember, this is not UPSC examination hall. You are free to attempt. There are no negative marks. So feel free to talk. Ecology. What do you mean by ecology? Study about environment. And environment is a study about ecology. No, this is a classic way how college students. What is a four-wheeler? Four-wheeler is a wheeler with 4 wheels. No, just kidding. Hey, don't take it seriously. Okay, I'm just kidding. Okay, so it's environment. In ecology, we study about environment. Now, I will ask the next question: what is environment? Then we will say it is something to do about ecology. That's why I'm asking. No, it goes back and forth. What do you think ecology stands for? No, ecology, as a definition, it stands for the interactions between the living organisms and its surrounding environment. How living organisms and its surrounding environment interact is what the subject is about. Now, how this becomes relevant, as I've said earlier, that everything what we are going to discuss, or what UPSC even expects, comes under this simple definition. Comes under the simple definition. Interactions between organisms and its surroundings. UPSC has a special focus on climate change. You all know that. UPSC in prelims examination, they have a special focus on climate change. But what is climate change? Climate change is how we humans have messed with the natural climatic forces of our earth and made it to warm. The earth has undergone many phases of cooling and warming phases. But that was a natural part of this earth. But we, the last 200 years, after the Industrial Revolution, we totally interfered with these natural processes and caused it to warm more. Isn't it nothing but interaction of living organisms and their surroundings? You take ocean depletion, you say pollution, everything what we will discuss, nitrogen fixation, application of fertilizers, trying for green hydrogen. Green hydrogen was also a favorite topic in the recent times. UPSC asked a question on green hydrogen also in this year. So everything comes under this very simple definition of ecology. எதுக்காக நான் இதை சொல்றேன் அப்படின்னா, in the class, not only in the subject, let me tell you, in every other subject, when they talk about definition of a concept, pay attention to that, because that is something very encompassing. That something holds a lot of meaning. Probably when you read it, you may not understand the depth of it. But I'm telling you, try to see with the depth. As the class goes, you will understand it. Ecology is nothing but everything what we are going to discuss in this subject from now onwards, it is ecology. There is always interaction between living organisms, one organism interacting with another. For example, we say predation, one animal eats another. Or let's say we say symbiosis. You would have heard about symbiosis, right? Symbiosis na one animal, one organism benefits in interaction with the other organism, symbiosis. Element interaction. So pay attention to the definitions whenever the subject faculty is discussing with you. So that is very, very, very important, and particularly very important when you go through optional subjects. Definition is a crux of the subject matter. Definition is a crux of subject matter, so pay attention to that very well. So in this subject, we are going to discuss simply about ecology. That's what the subject is about, studying about ecology. Now, next question that comes to our mind is, why we have to study environment in UPSC examinations? Why in UPSC? Why environment becomes or has become a subject in UPSC? Any of your views? ஏன் நினைக்கிறீங்க ஏன் இது ஒரு சப்ஜெக்டா வந்திருக்கலாம் அப்படின்னா? Yeah, I know many of you have views, many of you can speak, but I don't know, something is stopping you, right? Just feel free to talk. Global warming is a major issue. Okay, so why it is in UPSC is because UPSC wants to select problem solvers. IAS as a problem solver, IPS as solvers. And what is the role of a problem solver if there are no problems? வேலை இல்லை இல்லையா நமக்கு? எல்லாமே நல்லபடியா இருந்தா நமக்கு என்ன வேலை அப்புறம்? So we need to be problem solvers. So problem solvers means we need to have a focus on issues. We need to have a focus on problems. And what is the major problem that we have now? We can say many problems. International conflicts or intranational conflicts that will be discussed in polity or economy. But there are also other kind of problems, as one of you say, global warming, pollution. Another important area which is not very much looked in previous preparations, water scarcity, depletion of groundwater. That in fact, this year there were 2 questions in UPSC prelims. So why in UPSC? Because of major environmental issues. Okay. Yeah, in the question why I am asking this question is because, as I have said earlier, you are destined to be problem solvers. So you must have an hand on problems. If you do not have a grip on problems, how can you solve it? You want to open the lock, you have to hold the key. Without holding the key, you cannot just stand idle and say that, oh, G Bumba, lock, get it open. No, it won't happen like that. You need to have a hold on the key to turn it, and then the lock opens. So you need to have a hold on the problems. If UPSC is what expecting this, then what are the major environmental problems now that we are facing? Have a hold on that. Most often you will get easy marks. So we need to have an understanding of what they want. Then you can give what they expect. Second major reason, okay, that was one correct one, very precise one. Any other reasons why it needs to be studied in UPSC? To understand about environment, yes, to understand about our surroundings, true. But to understand about environment is covered here itself, because only when you understand your surroundings, you will have an understanding on issues. Yeah, unless we have an understanding on the surrounding, we cannot have an idea on our issues, right? So that covers here itself. But that's good attempt, yes. So only when you have a basic understanding of what the environment is, what our surrounding is, we also have an idea about the problems, correct? Okay, good. Any other issue? Why we have to study in UPSC? The second is very simple. It is more like opportunistic. Opportunistic reason. என்ன opportunistic reason அப்படின்னா, in 2013 UPSC brought a major reform in the examinations. Major changes, they have revamped the prelims as well as the mains. CSAT paper was introduced. No, that's a nightmare for this year. You heard about CSAT paper this year prelims, right? It was nightmare. A nightmare, the hell in reality. Even so-called good students, they couldn't cross. There will be totally 80 questions in paper 2 with the 2 hours. Even the so-called confident good students, they could not go beyond 45 questions. They don't simply have the time. Sir, பயமுத்தாதீங்க sir. No, I'm not making you scared. No, I'm giving you a fair warning, because most of the students, they started the CSAT preparation seriously 10-15 days before the examination. Now, that is the problem that we so much focus on GS, optional also, thinking that CSAT we just go sit and attend and come out successfully. No, you know CSAT is a qualifying paper, right? Only after qualifying your paper 2 that your paper 1 will be evaluated. You know that, right? So நான் என்ன இப்போ சொல்றேன்னா, what I'm conveying to you is, do not take a CSAT carelessly or without any seriousness. Otherwise, we have to wait for another year, right? So CSAT preparation, let me tell you, to have an idea, okay, try to see this year's CSAT paper. Just see kind of questions. That will give you a fair idea, okay? So do not take paper 2 something, okay, I can manage it, I can do it. Drop that attitude. So with the introduction of CSAT paper in 2013, another important change brought was forest service examinations have been merged with the prelims examination of UPSC civil services as well. So the preliminary examination for both the services have been merged as a single examination. So in this prelims, even civil service aspirants and forest service aspirants will write together. And how can we devise a question paper which can be kind of common to both? So 2 different service, right? Forest service and civil service. Civil service, we may have a kind of an exposure to many subjects, because you are going to be general civil servants. But forest service is a specialist service. So one is an examination for a generalist, another is an examination for a specialist, and you need to have a common exam for both. That is the reason why from 2013 onwards, 2013 they brought the change. From 2014 onwards, the examination, civil service preliminary examination started having more environment questions, because that is a way that the forest service aspirants also can be judged. And since 2014, the number of UPSC questions have increased tremendously. Last year, there were 18 questions from environment. 18 questions. No, 18 is not a simple number. 18 out of 100, 18, it's nearly 20%, near to 20%, 1/5. So இதனால என்ன சொல்றேன் அப்படின்னா, what I want to say here is, why in UPSC? Because of opportunistic reasons, they brought forest service together. So they had to ask questions on environmental issues as well. So they started asking questions. That's the second most important reason why it is important in UPSC. Now, after understanding this, there are students from non-science background. who may find it difficulty to go through environment. There are some students who can easily get it up easily, but for some it is difficult. So they thought that, okay, I may be good at polity, I may be good at economy, I can also do history. And geography, I can manage to somehow. They thought that other subjects can be kind of little avoided. But let me tell you, with the way things are going, this is not to exaggerate, this is how things are going on, that you want to clear preliminary examination, you cannot get it unless you get about 50% of questions in environment correct. In the 18, only when you get about 10 questions correct, 10 or more, you cannot clear prelims. Simply that can be said. So without having a focus on environment, your dream of getting into mains and subsequently getting into service will be a mirage. It will be a mirage. So please understand, this is not the subject that you cannot reject. You cannot, you should not. Whether you understand it, whether you like it, it doesn't matter. We are here for a reason, right? We are here not as a college course or an academic course. No, we are here for a competitive preparation. In competitive preparation, it is not what do you want that matters. It is what is required that matters. உங்களுக்கு எது பிடிக்கும் பிடிக்காதுன்றது முக்கியம் இல்லை, எது தேவைன்றது தான் முக்கியம். What is required is important than what do you want, what do you like. So you need to throw away your likes and dislikes. Some may have a natural preference for environment, some don't like it, but throw away all that. So because without this subject, you cannot clear prelims. 18 questions. You combine with science and technology, there were 28 questions totally. Environment and science and technology, 28 questions out of 100. Think about it. You cannot, இப்போ 28 ரிஜெக்ட் பண்ணிட்டு, how is it possible the remaining 72 questions? In the 72 questions, you have to get at least 50 questions correct. Do the simple math. Is it possible? You cannot. It is simply not possible. So understand the importance of the subject. Okay? This is way to promote myself. Environment is important. Don't miss the classes. Of course. See, as a subject, நம்மளோட கொஸ்டின்ஸ் வரும்போது ஒரு சந்தோஷம் இருக்குல்ல, environment நிறைய வந்திருக்குடா, because I handle environment, right? So that's a kind of cheeky happiness. So importance of the subject, when I say how much the subject is important, absolute importance. Environment is absolute importance to get into mains examination. But the whole situation changes when you get into mains. But when you go to the mains examination, it comes in paper 3. Environment comes in paper 3. Where there are other subjects also in paper 3. You know what are the other subjects in paper 3? Paper 3 la enna subjects irukku? Okay. I gave one important work for the pre-foundation students. What I told them, can anybody enlighten me? I have a short-term memory. ஞாபகம் வரல. சார் எங்களுக்கு short-term memory சொல்லாதீங்க. I can afford to forget. You cannot. என்ன சொல்லுங்க? Please, can you please elaborate for the others also? What I told as your first stage of preparation? இல்லப்பா எனக்கு கேட்கல. I couldn't hear. Syllabus. What syllabus? Mains syllabus. You have to read every day till you become so familiar with the syllabus that whatever you read in newspaper, you have to immediately link with the syllabus. Oh, this topic. But this topic, I think it touches upon paper 1. I think it touches upon paper 2. I think it touches upon paper 3. One topic you can correlate with 3 papers or 4 papers also. If you're good enough, you can even link it with essay. If you're so good enough, you can link it with optional also. But adukku eppadi pannanom? How can you do that? Unless you have a grip on the syllabus. So when I am asking now, environment comes in paper 3, what are the other subjects in paper 3? I'm getting a different answer. So மௌனமே சம்மதத்துக்கு அறிகுறி sir. Silence is a best answer. No, this don't work here. You have to speak out. What are the other subjects? Okay, through this conversation, what I'm telling to others. ஒரு பழமொழி in Tamil it is usually said. It's better in Tamil. நைட்டு ஃபுல்லா ராமாயணம் நடக்குமா, நல்லா உட்காந்து கேட்பாங்களா, காலையில ராமுனும் சீதரும் என்ன ரிலேஷனா சித்தப்பானாங்களா. Please don't say Sita, Ram is uncle to Ram. Please don't say that. So what I'm trying to convey through this conversation to you all. Yeah? What I'm saying is, I'm repeating the same old message. Your preparation must not start with the standard books that you get. Of course, that is part of your preparation. But even before that, you need to know that every aspect of the main syllabus, paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, paper 4, you take a printout. Every day when you come, you have it in your bag. When you come and sit in a class, 5-10 minutes before the class begins, you take that and just go through it. When you go back and about to sleep, before sleep, you just take. It won't take more than 3-4 minutes. Read at least twice every day. If you do it for about 15-20 days, you'll become familiar. Only after that, what I'm saying will happen naturally to you. What I'm saying, you see a topic in the Hindu paper, you can immediately connect it with multiple topics at the syllabus at the same time. This is what required as an UPSC aspirant. This is what needed. புரியுதா உங்களுக்கு? So take a printout, keep it with you always, go through it at least 2 times every day. The main syllabus, do it. See, most often, what is simple may give you grand success. In the mains examination, you need to present a holistic answer. Even the UPSC mains examination, the question is not from same subject, you know that? Let's say, for example, paper 1, one of the subject is geography. In the geography, they were asking about urban flooding phenomenon, which is an environmental issue in paper 3. Even UPSC do not have boundaries of subjects like what we think. Okay, polity, these are the subjects. Environment, these are the subjects. Geography, these are the subjects. No, not like that. Every subject has such an interrelationship that you need to see geography in history. You need to see polity when you study environmental laws. Wildlife Protection Act, when you study, you are studying polity, but in context to environment. So try to see other subjects in the subject that you study. This only opens up your mind. And with this opening of your mind, let me tell you, your answers in mains examination will be enriched. Do not put a very myopic approach. குதிரைக்கு கடிவாளம், it's very myopic. குதிரை கடிவாளம் போட்டா it can have only a narrow vision. Try to broaden it. It can be broadened only by familiar with the main syllabus. I'm reiterating it multiple times because it's very, very, very important, but it's very simple. Okay, so the work, the kind of task that I'm giving you to ease out your preparation is 1, familiar with mains syllabus. And to be even more efficient, do the same process for your optional choice also. You take the syllabus of the optional also and do the same process. The rendu syllabus you daily paakano kandipa. Okay, so that must be the thing that you have to do without fail till you become so accustomed to it. So that's first thing I want to tell you. The second thing, mostly people don't do this. The second most important thing, I think this also I have discussed with you guys. have study plan. Have a study plan. Benjamin Franklin famously said that when you are failing to plan, you are planning to fail. When you do not plan, then your failure is kind of assured. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to organize the tasks. Nothing comes in your way. So planning, you need to break it down into long-term plan and the short-term plan. Long-term plan means, okay, now by the way the examination goes, next year May will be your prelims examination. And October next year, 2025 October will be mains examination. Okay, now keeping that schedule in mind, how your preparation has to be, you break down first into a long-term plan. So probably we'll say up to October, November, you need to have a combined preparation for both the prelims and as well as mains. Mains, I'm talking about optional subjects. So enna pannalam appadina, from now to October, the focus is on prelims plus option. Now from October to January or up to February, you need to have a focus on optional plus GS mains. From February to May examination, prelims, GS prelims plus CSAT. So you need to have a kind of a broad plan on this way. So from now to October, you need to have a preparation schedule for prelims. You need to have an idea, okay, optional, I will complete at least paper 1 or some units of paper 1 and some units of paper 2. First have the goal, write it down. In GS prelims, what are the subjects that I'm going to study? Other than classes will go in a different path. Other than that, your own self-reading of standard books. You keep a plan. For example, by October, optional papers, unit 1, paper 1 completed. 2, polity and let's say polity, history and geography, let's say, completed. You need to write down goals like this first. And then this is a long-term plan. So let's say now June, July, August, September, October, you have 4 months. Now split the large goal into smaller goals. In the month of July, I will take polity, I will take some units in optional. You first put the long-term goal based on what I have given here. Break that into monthly goals. In this month, that I'm going to cover these units of optional and these papers of polity or whatever subjects that you choose. That's up to you. There may be skips, there may be misses, but don't worry about it. But first, you need to have a plan. Because planning is setting your brain to the task. Planning is taking your preparation seriously. Whether you are a serious aspirant or not, it doesn't come only if you come classes. We usually say, regular class, serious student. No. I will say myself, my view of a serious student is different. Only an aspirant who has a plan of study is a serious student. Because only a person with a plan of study is committed to what they are going to do. Otherwise, you are kind of more chaotic. I come today, I listen to what sir says, I even revise it. But that doesn't give you your own plan. You need to have your own plan, you need to have your own task. So make a plan accordingly. For November to October, you need to cover this. What is the goal? You can set your own goal. You can set ambitious goals, but don't set too ambitious goals. That may be too impractical. But don't keep, okay, from 4 months I will complete only polity. That's a too simple a goal. Don't have something too larger or too simplistic goal. Keep it practical goals. 2 or 3 subjects in GS prelims. At least 3 or 4 units in optional papers. Break that. Then after January, February, you will study optional plus GS mains and revision of what you studied earlier. And this becomes the third phase of your plan. Because after February, your exclusive focus should come on preliminary examination only. So that must be your focus. So keep this broader outline in mind. Set up a plan. யார் பிளான் பண்றாங்களோ அவங்க தான் சக்சஸ் ஆகுறாங்க. They are very planned persons. When I say that plan, it happened actually in I think 2018 or something. Planning பண்ணிட்டு வாங்க அப்படின்னும்போது ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட் வந்தாங்க. அந்த மாதிரி பிளானிங் பண்ணக்கூடாதுப்பா. That is going to fail. Sir, morning 6 o'clock I wake up. 6:15 brushing. No, I'm not talking about a plan like this. It's not like a daily timetable. No, don't put something like that. It's not going to happen. Do not put, generally say I'll wake up at the scheme, let's say 6 o'clock, I'll sleep by about 10:30, 11 o'clock. That is fine. But 10 to 1 o'clock I'm going to do this. 3 to 5 o'clock I'm going to do this. If you keep a plan like that, it is too impractical. It's not going to work. But have an outlined target for larger areas, larger period, and break it up into smaller periods like a monthly target. I will say fairly monthly target is kind of practical because someday you may not do it. The other day you can make it up. If possible, you can break the monthly plan into weekly plan also. You can break the monthly plan into weekly plan also. That is for those who can commit themselves to what they plan. Otherwise, it's not a big issue. But at least I want every one of my students to have a monthly targets and the large term targets. You do this, you commit to this. Let me tell you, திருக்குறள் சொல்லியிருக்காங்க இல்லையா, முயற்சி திருவினையாக்கும், முயற்றின்மை இன்மை புகுத்தி விடும். That's a famous திருக்குறள். Effort always gives its own success. This planning and your commitment to that itself will take you very closer to the success. And let me tell you, UPSC wants this. Because UPSC wants problem solvers and UPSC also wants planners. They don't want chaotic persons who just come, sit in the office and do what comes. No, they want planners. And you have to be a planner to become an officer. நம்ம ப்ரிப்பரேஷனே பிளான் பண்ணலனா சீட்ல போய் உட்கார்ந்து என்ன பண்ணுவோம்? We'll be couch potatoes. Okay, so be a planner. In the planning kandipa பண்ணணும். I will say these are the two fundamental aspects that when you begin your preparation that you should do. Be familiar with the main syllabus and put your monthly and the long term targets. இது ஏன் பண்ணணும்னா, let's not go that much into it. That's not the area of discussion for today. But this has its own benefits. Okay, so do not skip this. Take this very seriously. I always want to say what looks simple, but in fact that will be more effective. Okay, coming to the next, what to study. Okay, we know that why environment is important and how to prepare. The kind of preparation planner I'm trying to give you an overview. Tabla column alli potu veinga. Commit yourself for the task, commit yourself for the plan. The next thing is where to study. Environment வரும்போது what to study. Now, this is the most important aspect in our preparation. What to study is most important, because generally people outside the UPSC preparation, they always gives a respect when you are an UPSC aspirant. They see you with an awe. Ah, you're studying for UPSC. You're going to become an IAS officer. They think that we know everything. Isn't it? The kind of respect you get when people hear that you are preparing for IAS examination, IPS examination, that itself gives you the feeling, I'm already an IAS officer. I'm already an officer. That's very true. But remember, அவங்க என்ன நினைப்பாங்கன்னா பொதுவா, they think that you know everything because you're preparing for this examination. But only entering the aspirant life, we will come across a problem what to study. We'll face a stark reality. So what to study now, outside a perspective, you know everything, which means you study everything. But when we come into preparation, actually, you need to have a very precise idea of what to study, what not to study. That only will help you to clear the exam. புரியுதா என்ன சொல்றேன்னு? Yeah. I'm already drenching. So that is a proof that you guys are observing. Thank you. Okay. So, is it kind of okay now? Okay, we'll see. We'll wait for a few minutes. So, what to study? I've been about this. One of the major indication of what to study is UPSC questions. Okay, what kind of areas UPSC focuses in their question papers? Let's try to focus on those areas in our preparation, hoping that it comes in next year. That's usually what we do, right? We focus on previous year question paper. We take up what areas they ask. We get into our next year preparation. Let me tell you, that may not work always. It helps to a certain extent, but it does not work always. 2 years before, there were about 3 questions on protected areas of India. Protected areas means about national parks, wildlife sanctuaries. There were about 3 questions on national parks. But immediately what people thought, oh, national parks are very important. What are the national parks that comes in the news? Let's prepare it this year. So next year when the UPSC asks, we'll crack it. But you know how many national parks in India? There are about 253 national parks. When you are going to start it and when you are going to complete it? So last year when you ask the 2024 preliminary examination, there were not a single question on national parks. So now what I'm trying to convey is what to study, how to prepare, what areas to focus. You don't take that task yourself. We are here for that. We are here to guide you to focus on which areas to help you guide your preparation. You take that task yourself, you face a responsibility yourself also. இப்போ எதெல்லாம் படிக்கணும் எதெல்லாம் விடணும் நீங்க முடிவு எடுத்துட்டீங்கன்னா அதனால வரக்கூடிய விளைவை நீங்க தான் பொறுப்பு எடுக்கணும். You should take the responsibility for that. No, please don't do that, because we have done this for long years. We know how UPSC changes. So based on that, we will have a kind of a fair prediction of what needs to be done to safely cover your preparation. That's faculties will do. Another, you don't decide on yourself. Okay, so that is another task. You go to YouTube, some armchair critics, they sit and talk about UPSC is asking questions like that. Let me tell you, have you seen these armchair critics about many people who give different opinions about UPSC? Let me tell you, இது எப்போ திரும்ப வரும்? Examination, when once the preliminary examination is over, immediately these videos comes. Oh, this is what UPSC is thinking. This is what UPSC is thinking. I'm asking, hey, where you guys were before the examination? These guys were silent. And once the examination comes, once they see the paper, now they started posing. Oh, this is how UPSC thinks. No, I'm telling you, it's not going to work. Because next year, anyhow, UPSC is going to change in some way. And these concept critics will come and present their view in a different way. உங்களுக்கு அதனால என்ன பயன்? What you are going to get out of this? Nothing. So do not see these videos and devise a preparation too much. You can see the videos for content. Okay, good. For devising a preparation, try to approach someone who is closer to you. We faculties are here for the purpose. Every subject faculty is having and have gathered a lot of experience, so they know how to guide you. So in a website liyo adu YouTube na kuda paravala, there is certain personalized touch. Websites are worse. They are very passive. Never rely on that for your preparation. Any difficulties, any sudden hiccups you have, always feel free to approach the faculties that you feel comfortable. That is the only way to hone your preparation, to correct your path. Okay, never rely on YouTubes are done for many reasons, to promote themselves, to get their views. உங்களுக்கு என்ன use? They're doing for their purpose, so remember that. So what to study அப்படின்னும் பொழுது, frankly, once again, this may be little difficult to digest, but the truth is we really cannot say. I still remember in my 12th standard, the teacher that I revere even now, my physics teacher, she was so committed. She asked us to come on Pongal and Diwali also. Of course, we were so lamenting at those times. Teacher, but we saw the results after the examination. She told, "Hey, see da paper, chapter 1, chapter 2. Out of these 2 chapters, 15 mark will come. So what you do, you study only 1 chapter completely. You can leave the 2nd chapter. Then go do the same for 3rd and 4th. This is how, that's called a blueprint of the examination." She taught me that. And of course, edo konjam pannom. The point is, in the madri blueprint UPSC kadiyadu. People will give all this blueprint in the YouTube. Let me tell you, that does not work. UPSC is not a fool, right? They are much, much, much wiser than the critics. So the real truth, the truth may be bitter. It may be unpalatable. This truth may be unpalatable, but the truth is UPSC is unpredictable. UPSC and an unpredictable public service exam na solluvaanga. It's not union public, unpredictable. So it is very unpredictable. What to study in the previous year question paper vecho illa indha madriyana YouTube videos vecho paakadinga. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. So adanal first enna sollalana, what to study அப்படின்னும் பொழுது, first we need to have a focus on, it is very divergent rather uniform. It's very divergent rather uniform. What to study? I will, after finishing this, first I want to give you an overview, and then I will come specifically about what to study. Okay, first I want to give you an exposure about these things. So it is very divergent. I'm telling you, this is true for every subject. This is true not only for environment but for every subject. The next thing enna, the next most important, I will say, the nature of questions. Nature of questions. Sir, why you are including what to study and you talk about nature of questions? There is a reason. Why do you come to the classes? Why have you joined this course? Because you want to become graduates? You want to get a degree after that? No. You want to get a different kind of a degree with a special tag, IAS, IPS. The purpose here is not to become subject experts. This is another thing that I have seen with students often. Every one of you has a natural affinity to some subjects. They like some subjects more. They go so deep into it. மூழ்கி முத்தெடுத்துட்டு வருவாங்க. They go so deep into the subjects that they forgot the goal. Your goal here is not to become an academic expert. Your goal is simply to clear the examination. To clear the examination means to clear the questions. நீங்க படிக்கிறது எல்லாமே எதுக்குன்னா அந்த 100 கொஸ்டினுக்காக தான் படிக்கிறீங்க. We are going to have about 100 and not only 100, I'm saying 140 classes, each classes with 2+ hours for that 100 questions only. Just for that 100 questions, not for any other thing. Right? So questions are very important. But the nature of questions, UPSC is playing a cat and mouse game with us. That every time they're always one step ahead of us. You heard about the story of Angulimala and Buddha? You heard about this ever? Angulimala. Angulimala is a kind of a ghost who lived in a village, and any travelers who passes by the forest, he golds them, cut their fingers, and have it as a garland. Angulimalana, it's a garland of fingers. It's such a goal. And Buddha used to visit that village, and villagers, out of care and love for the Buddha, says, please don't go through that path. That is very dangerous. Nobody returned back. The moment they said don't go back, Buddha said, I'm going to go. So he went there, and of course Angulimala jumped right in front of him, tried to do his usual tactics. But Buddha, being a Buddha, he started speaking to the person, because he doesn't speak to the person, he talks to the soul. He talks to the person, and of course initially people won't listen, right? Anything when initially said, people won't understand. They don't listen deeply. அப்ப நான் உங்களை சொல்லல, அந்த கான்டெக்ட் நான் சொல்றேன். Don't take it. So as the conversation gone, he got so furious, he started chasing. But I don't know what magic happened. No matter how much he rushes forth, Buddha is always one step ahead. And of course, finally, Angulimala became a disciple. Later, he gave up, that he cannot catch Buddha. Then he finally gave, who are you? Then he turned back into Buddhism. In Angulimala story, எதுக்கு சொல்றேன்னா, UPSC is all like a Buddha. We are like Angulimalas. We always see this year question paper, trying to think that we'll catch it up. But they are always one step ahead of us. Because, நல்லா பாருங்க, என்ன தெரியுமா, ரொம்ப simple. As an UPSC aspirant, you have to write at least, we have test batches. You will go through at least 50+ tests. Each test with 100 questions. So many questions, so many different areas. ரொம்ப யோசிக்கணும். யூபிஎஸ்சி ஒரே ஒரு டெஸ்ட் தான், வருஷத்துக்கு ஒரு தடவை தான் அவங்க கண்டக்ட் பண்ண போறாங்க. They are going to conduct only once in a year. So imagine they can do it in a very unpredictable way, because it's only one, but for you it's hundreds. So that is why they can do it very easily, but we cannot do it. That's the reason why it is always unpredictable. UPSC questions are always unpredictable. But questions oda nature பாத்தீங்கன்னா, oh my god, this year in 2000s, I'm not talking about the question, I'm talking about how the question is framed. In 2000s, one way of asking question was so famous. Statement 1, statement 2. You know this question type, right? Statement 1, statement 2. Both statement 1 and 2 are correct. And statement 1 is an explanation for statement 2. You know that, right? Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2, but statement 1 and 2 is correct, but statement 1 is not an explanation of statement 2. Then statement 1 is wrong, statement 2 is wrong. ABCD in the 4 options தருவாங்க. This is something style that was followed in 2000s, 2001, 3 இல்லல இந்த மாதிரி questions வந்தது. But in the 2011s, 2011 to last year and all, the questions slowly changed the format. The questions எப்படி கேட்க ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டாங்கன்னா, they were asking combination. This kind of statements were moved away. The questions were asking 1 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. They are asking combinations like this. They will give 3 statements past, statement 1, statement 2, statement 3. Then they'll ask questions like this. You have to find the right combination. But you know what is the advantage of this method? For example, let's say 3 statements are given in a question. You know, one statement, first statement is correct, but let's say second statement, third statement, you don't have an idea. உங்களுக்கு அது தெரியல. ஆனா என்ன பண்ணலாம்னா இந்த ஆப்ஷன்ஸ்ல நீங்க பாக்குறீங்க. ஒன்னு எங்க வருதோ, for example, let's say this is 2 options. Let's say third option 2 and 3. Let's say fourth option 3 only. Now what you can do simply is you can choose A and B. The answer has to be either A or B. C and D can be eliminated because statement 1 is correct. இதுல என்ன ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா even impartial knowledge can get you into success. You don't have to know 2 or 3. புரியுதா? You can do some kind of logical analysis, logical guesses. If you make an attempt, if you guess an answer here randomly, it's actually success is 25%, 1 out of 4. But when you do this logical guess, you're going to get A or B. It is correct, either A or B. So the success is 50%. People started doing it. And last year, 2024, you leave it. Before that, they were asking words like only. They ask a question. For example, let me give you a statement. For example, now statement children. Okay, I'll give you exact statement of what UPSC asked. This was one of the statement. Okay, sorry, this was actually a statement from 2021 question paper. First statement கேட்டுட்டு அதுல இருந்து என்ன பண்ணிட்டாங்கன்னா people, many gurus, online gurus, YouTube gurus, they advising this method. UPSC பார்த்தாங்க. Oh, you're guessing so that even incomplete knowledge can give you success in the board. என்ன பண்ணிட்டாங்கன்னா they brought variations of statement like that. They started putting like some, they started putting like only, they started using words like all. For example, you see this statement, right? Some turtles are carnivorous. இதே statement, let me change a word. All turtles are carnivorous. How it changes? Let's say another word. Only turtles are carnivorous. You see how the whole meaning changes? UPSC என்ன பண்ணிட்டாங்கன்னா, after this is becoming familiar to the students, they thought that students are guessing and getting into mains. The problem is those who clear prelims, there are students who clear prelims year after year, but mains they couldn't clear because of this reason, because the knowledge is not complete. They somehow get into mains, but clearing mains requires a different engagement, different commitment. அது அவங்க கிட்ட இல்லைன்னா clear பண்ண முடியாது. So UPSC thought, okay, let's make this preparation serious. How? By changing the pattern. இந்த மாதிரி கேட்டாங்க. Now students make students and of course gurus, okay, baba walas, daba walas, they started giving ideas. Okay, whenever the word only comes, it is wrong. People started doing that. Now last year UPSC put a knock on that also. Last year எப்படி கேட்டுட்டாங்கன்னா, if you ask me, the questions last year, just one moment. Let me write that question. Consider the following heavy industries. Consider the following heavy industries, one, fertilizer plants, two, oil refineries, three, steel plants. Don't worry about the question because நம்ம class ஆரம்பிக்காத போது இது தேவையில்லை. But look how they're changing it. Then the next thing says, they ask a question, green hydrogen is expected to play a significant role. Is expected to play a significant role in which of the industries? Yeah. I think it is beyond me. Just one moment. One moment. ஏசி ஒர்க் ஆகுது கொஞ்சம் பார்க்க சொல்லுங்க. ஆமா ரொம்ப சூடா நீங்க சிங்கிள் நான் பார்க்க சொல்லுங்க. எனக்கே வெயிட் போட்டு நீங்க சொல்றீங்க. Okay, so people will come. So this is a question. Remember, this is not the end of it. Last year என்ன பண்ணிருக்காங்க தெரியுமா? Let me give you the options. A, only one. B, only two. C, all three. D, none. Please see how the questions are changed. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி என்ன பண்ணிருந்தாங்கன்னா 1 2 3 தந்திருப்பாங்க. இது 1 2 3 இருக்கா? Earlier they were asking 1 and 2 only, 3 only, like that. But now they ask questions only 1, only 2, all 3. Now இதுல என்ன ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா, this seems like a பெருசா சேஞ்ச் இல்லையே நீங்க நினைப்பீங்க. But no, there is a fundamental change here. Please observe that. Only one. When it says like that, you don't know which one. You don't know which one. Because it's not talking about 1, 2, and 3. They're talking about only one is correct. Only 2 is correct. All 3 is correct. If என்ன ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா, early you were guessing correct. Okay, if the first one is correct, wherever one comes, it has to be correct answer. You can do guess like that. But now you need to know absolutely whether what comes where. When you say only 2 as an answer, when you say only 2 as an answer, you know what that means? You have to absolutely know. You don't have to worry which 2, but you should know, okay, this green hydrogen plays a role. Oh, fertilizer plants. Fertilizer plants requires ammonia. Ammonia needs to be prepared, usually prepared from fossil fuels. But now green hydrogen can supplement it. You should know that fact. Oil refineries. Oil refineries, we make a lot of value added products from refining petroleum reserves, petroleum crude oil. But that value addition of the products requires hydrogen to be added to it. Now that also requires green hydrogen. Steel plants. Steel plants also needs hydrogen. You should have a grip of all this. Only then you can say, okay, all 3 is correct. Otherwise you should know, steel plants, absolutely green hydrogen don't play a role. Then you have to choose only 2. But the correct answer for this question is all 3. If என்ன ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா, that kind of incomplete knowledge, that kind of guesswork will not take you to success. It will not take you to success. Please remember, whatever strategy you devise, UPSC devises a strategy something else. So what to study அப்படின்னும் பொழுது இதுலயே how to study முக்கியமா இருக்கு. So do not rely on that gurus. I'm telling you, they will help you to sleep well. தூங்கத்துக்கு முன்னாடி அப்படியே பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கலாம். பட் எக்ஸாமினேஷன்ல கிளியர் பண்றதுக்கு அது யூஸ் ஆகாது. At least this is something that you can get from last year examination. So the point I would like to tell you is, as a faculty, we make sure that what we discuss in the class comes in the examination. But you must have an absolute focus and absolute trust that whatever is said in the class is useful. Only then you won't miss anything. That basic understanding of everything what you come across, I'm not saying of everything, what you come across is required. Adu illana இந்த மாதிரி questions you cannot answer questions like this. And I hope that this trend will continue next year also. This trend we see here, we hope that it continues next year also. நல்லா யோசிங்க, இந்த மாதிரி question வருதுன்னா prelims-க்கு, if questions like this comes, what should be your preparation? You cannot work on guessworks. You cannot rely on other kind of shortcuts. It won't help you. This question, no shortcut will be helpful. You must clearly and precisely know what is correct, what is wrong. Be aware of this. Next year, UPSC இப்படி தான் இருக்க போகுது. So make sure that your preparation is strategized according to this. Okay? So what to study? At this point, I would like to emphasize very importantly. Then comes study areas. When we come to UPSC, study areas. Okay. What are the study areas? When we take the previous year questions, we can have a fair idea that UPSC has kind of a romantic relationship with the climate change. I don't know, for many reasons, they like climate change a lot. So every year, there are at least 2 questions coming from this area, but we don't know which area it comes from. But climate change is one of the topics that consistently UPSC asks. Okay? So in the மாதிரி study areas என்ன அப்படி நம்ம பார்க்கும்பொழுது, as I said earlier, if UPSC asks a question on national parks, you start reading national parks many a times. If a question asks about a particular environmental law, you try to read all the law related to that and becoming a political expert in environment. That's not going to help you at all. So irrespective of what UPSC asks, they may ask about climate change, you focus on that, good. But doesn't mean that you read only climate change. Okay? So that is a certain a blueprint. As my +2 physics teacher told me, there is certain a blueprint which you have to follow irrespective of what UPSC asks. Because these topics are so interconnected and so important, so basic, that without understanding that, your other preparation will not help you. Let me tell you another example. In our prelims discussion, we will talk about decomposition. Decomposition is one of the basic science. This is usually a prelims area. Decomposition is a prelims area. But you know what UPSC did? They asked a question about decomposition in paper 3 mains. What are the different phases of decomposition and elaborate on the processes involved? It was a mains question. So what you study in prelims, UPSC tries to change that also. And the mains like கேட்டிருக்காங்க. So the point is, you cannot decide, okay, this is the area UPSC asks, so I will study only about that. அப்படி பண்ணவே கூடாது நீங்க. You should never do that. That is a certain fundamental plan. There is certain fundamental basics that you have to go through. So that only will give you a holistic understanding. So அப்படி பார்க்குற study areas என்ன அப்படின்னு நம்ம பார்க்கும்போது, let's go through that. What are the study areas in environment? The first one is basic ecology. So in basic ecology, what we go through, what we study in the basic ecology, the most common thing that you know of ecology, like food chain, food web, nutrient cycles. Okay, நீங்க நோட் பண்ண வேணாம். I'm giving you the structure of this subject. Okay, no need to note down. You would have got a handbook for environment, right? So that has included what I'm going to say here. So another note taniya pannadinga, but understand. So first you need to be familiar with the basic ecology like food web, food chain, nutrient cycles, ecological succession, what is basically biodiversity means, what are the types of biodiversity, all the basic concepts. And then along with these basic concepts, you need to have applied areas of basic concepts. For example, in nutrient cycles, you would have studied in your +1 and +2 carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, phosphorus cycle, sulfur cycle. You would have read about it, right? Different cycles. This is basics. But how the basics can be connected to the present day technological trends? அப்படின்னும் பொழுது, when we come to carbon cycle is an important player in present day global warming, right? Global warming is nothing but an acute skewing of the carbon cycle. When the carbon cycle is skewed, that is where the whole global warming is getting manifested. இல்லையா? அப்ப இந்த carbon cycle we talk about what releases carbon, what removes carbon. This is basics. But what is applied in that is a technology called as carbon sequestration technologies. How to remove carbon from the atmosphere. This is basics. Regarding that, many technologies are coming. Geological sequestration, solar engineering. Solar engineering enna theriyuma? You would have heard about a famous attempt by Tamil Nadu minister to prevent evaporation of Vaigai river. You know that, right? That is an example of solar engineering. How to modify the solar light to prevent evaporation, to prevent warming. Solar engineering, carbon sequestration. Don't worry, all this we'll discuss in the classes. Now I'm trying to say is that is basic areas, and from the basic areas we have application of these basic areas. For example, another example of basic areas I can say ocean acidification. Another application is ocean acidification. Another important area. What is ocean acidification? Is nothing. When more atmospheric carbon dioxide enters the oceans, it results in this. The ocean water becomes acidified. Why it happens, how it happens, we'll discuss in the classes. But ocean acidification is nothing but a part of carbon cycle. And carbon cycle is a part of basic ecology. So there is something called as basic ecology, and relevant to the basic ecology, there are applied areas. Okay, so that should be a subject of study. So when you read current affairs, when they're talking about a pollution, that news that you come across, for example, mercury pollution. Let's say, for example, mercury pollution in yes, Udagamandala. In fact, one of the most mercury polluted areas in India is that, because that was a place where a famous company, HP, had a manufacturing unit of thermometers. And the defective thermometers, during the process, they simply dumped it in their backyard. And thermometers is known to have the thermometer. Now we have digital thermometers. Okay, so mercury pollution has become ensued. So they were making a lot of attempts so that this mercury there does not seep into the ground, mix with the water, underground water, and ultimately reaches the people. So இத பாக்கும்போது என்னென்னலாம் கனெக்ட் பண்ணலாம்னா ஃபுட் வெப், ஃபுட் செயின் கனெக்ட் ஆகும் because it enters the food chain. And the mercury, once it enters the food chain, it undergoes a process called as biomagnification. What is this? இதெல்லாம் application. What I'm saying is, when you read that news, these are all the basics hidden in it. The news will not have all this said explicitly. The news la pathina biomagnification na enna, what is biomagnification, how it happens, all this will not be given. They simply say mercury pollution is rampant in the region and government has to take necessary measures அப்படின மாதிரி சும்மா ரெக்கமெண்ட் பண்ணிருப்பாங்க. பட் நமக்கு இதோட பேசிக்ஸ் தெரியணும். So only when you have an idea like this, when you read the news, it's mostly applied part, but that for that applied subject there is something basics for that. So that we will cover. So that we will cover in the classes, and even when you read, you need to focus on that. Okay, புரியுதுங்களா? So what to study ல என்னன்னா, do not see the external face of a phenomenon because the root is hidden under the soil. The root is not visible always, right? Root gives everything. Root gives the nourishment, root gives the support, but root is not visible to us. And the madri, every problem there is a root, basics. You should have a hold on the basics. It's not very difficult task, friends. Our class is intended to do that, to give you a strong understanding of the basics. But what you have to do is, you have to apply the basics you understand in the class to the news you read. That is what you have to do. புரியுதா உங்களுக்கு? Basics we will help you to understand, but you need to correlate the basics with what you study. Okay? Okay. So basic areas. What are the list of basic areas? It would have been given in the handbook. That is the first aspect. Second, what is the second that needs to be studied in this subject? One, basic ecological concepts. The second, what are the applications of these basic concepts? Okay, that is the study area. Second, நம்ம என்ன பார்க்கணும்னா, international initiatives. See, in the basic ecology, everything becomes included. Biodiversity, pollution, எல்லாமே இதுல வந்துரும். Okay, the next major area. So நான் என்ன சொல்றேன்னா, when you come across a news, try to see basic ecology in the news you read. நான் அதுதான் உங்களுக்கு மீன் பண்றேன். My meaning is, what I'm trying to tell you is, you try to see the basic ecology in the current affairs you read. Even for reading the current affairs, I have told you, you follow from one newspaper. Don't become jack of all, but a master of none. Okay? Try to focus on one newspaper, most probably Hindu. I mean, even for the Hindu, my best idea, my best suggestion is, because when you sit for reading newspaper entirely, it will take about 2.5 hours, which is kind of not a good amount of time that you can give for. So உங்களோட இன்னும் அது கொஞ்சம் சிம்பிளிஸ்டிக்கா ஸ்மார்ட்டா பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னா, if I say how to make it in a smarter way, I will say read only the center page with a particular attention to editorials and take notes. This will improve your comprehension power. How to convert a passage into your own notes. This happens vice versa. ஒரு பேசேஜ்ல இருந்து ஒரு நோட்ஸ் எடுக்க முடியும்னா, உங்க நோட்ஸ்ல இருந்து பேசேஜ் எழுத முடியும். This is what going to help you in your main writing skills. You understand? If you merely read, I'm telling you, it will help only to a certain extent. You have to develop the habit of notes taking, not the entire paper, only the editorials. You have to do it. You want to get a good score in the mains, you want to clear the prelims, and once you clear the prelims, you must be in a position that you should never miss that a golden opportunity. It should not be like every year you clear the prelims, but somehow you are stuck at the main stage. No. So you want to clear the mains, I'm telling you, you should develop the habit of notes taking. And that is only center page, particularly editorials. So what about the news, sir? There are current affairs compilation provided by us. There are also other open, I don't know how to say, you guys know it. Right? நிறைய compilations இருக்கு. அதுலயும் பாத்தீங்கன்னா choose one. Follow our own compilation. It helps in your mains preparation a lot. In addition to that, you take one and stick to it. Don't download all that and try to become a database of information, database of current affairs. That won't solve you. Okay? So, daily news, newspaper, padika thevailla. You don't have to spend too much time on that. Just give a glance and go. But center page, you spend at least 45 minutes to 1 hour every day on the center page. That is most important. This skill will not come in a fortnight. Writing skills or comprehension skills will not come in a fortnight. That requires perseverance and that requires something that you have to do periodically and very regularly. Okay, so keep that in mind. So international initiatives பத்தி நான் வரும்போது என்ன சொல்றேன்னா, so இதை நீங்க படிக்கணும். First, basic technology, how to link it. The second is international initiative. That's the second aspect of our course. In the international initiatives, என்னென்னலாம் படிக்கணும்னா, because whenever there is a major problem, people come together, they eat cashews and pagodas, they have after meeting parties, and they all disperse. அப்படிதான் யூஸ்வலா நடக்கும். We rarely attain achievements in the major international conferences in the recent times. They all meet with extravaganza, with all the fanfare. At the end of the meeting, nothing substantial comes out. Of course, what I'm presenting may be a starker view or a pessimistic view, but what to do? We are looking at the success of anything by looking at the results. Yeah, results which is an initiative we can weigh how successful they are. Most of the conferences were not very successful. We tried to bring something, some other country put a block to it. Recently, Samir, China put a block, right? Use patingla. India wanted to designate an LET, Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist. China puts a block to it. So, in a way, எல்லா இடத்துலயும் ஒரு block இருக்குன்னு வைங்க. So the point is, whenever there is a problem, there is one organization pertaining to that. So environmental problems ki enna organization irukundrathu UPSC oda focus. The particular focus I told you related to climate change. So we will come across lot of international initiatives like UNFCCC. You know what does UNFCCC stands for, right? UNFCCC enna, that is the international convention related to the climate change. அதோட abbreviation என்னன்னா UN framework to combat climate change என்றது. So this is related to climate change. இது மட்டுமா problem? No, we have other problems also. We have problem like there are many animals dying because of the mishandling of our environment. India is the second largest producer of oil seeds, but also the largest consumer of oil products. நாமளே உருவாக்கி நாமளே சாப்பிடுறோம். எவ்வளவு பூரி எவ்வளவு வடை தெருலாம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா கார்த்திக் டிஃபன் சென்டர் அவங்களே இந்தியாவோட பாதி ஆயில கன்சியூம் பண்ணுவாங்க. கார்த்திக் டிஃபன் சென்டர் in our road corner. But all this palm oil, you think where it is coming from? You know which country is the largest producer of palm oil in the world? Indonesia. But Indonesia is a region with a high forest density. But it's okay, you are closer. பக்கத்துல தான் இருக்காங்க. So you are almost correct. And the region now. It's actually a region of rainforest, and of course, rainforest la oil kadikadu. They have to plant palm trees, so they raise down the rainforest. That results in a very large depletion of their orangutan population. Okay, adu mattuma. In Africa, they have taken on an extreme measure to save the rhinoceros. And what is the main attractive point of a rhinoceros? Their horns. It is for the horns that they are killed. They shoot down a rhinoceros, they cut only their horns and leave the animal remain as it is. Horn தான் உங்களுக்கு தேவை. So African government and the smuggling mafia is very stronger even than the government. It's very difficult for the government to stop them. So the African government started doing a kind of a very kind of I would say kind of a cruel method, but it worked. Oh, you are coming to kill our rhinoceros because of the horns. What the government did, they organized a campaign to cut the horn by themselves, safe, without any threat to the animal, in as much as human possible way. You can even think from ethical, in the topic ஒரு ethical perspective பார்க்கலாமா? So they cut the horns of the rhinoceros, and voila, the animal killings came down. So it may be an extreme step, but it works. The point என்ன சொல்றேன்னா, there are a lot of threat to biodiversity, right? So biodiversity க்கு என்ன initiative இருக்கு? We have Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD. There are other problems. Ozone depletion. There's another problem. That is a threat to the ozone layer. அதுக்கு we have what is called as Montreal Protocol and Vienna Convention. Then we are having problems that our agriculture has become so unsustainable that they are looking only to increase the productivity, not the sustainability. I hope you didn't understand what I have said in a real sense. With the intent of increasing productivity, we have lost our goal on sustainability. Sustainability is lost. What the Green Revolution has produced is more food grains, but with the consequence of diseases and pollution. Green Revolution fed your hunger, but it gave you diseases. 1960s la ஆரம்பிச்ச Green Revolution was one of the miracle, true. But with the Green Revolution, chemical fertilizers and pesticides started to be used more. And that resulted in pollution, that resulted in environmental consequences. So இதுக்கு ஒரு convention இருக்கு, இதுக்கு ஒரு international initiative இருக்கு, Stockholm Convention. So like this, there are about 8-10 international initiatives. Marpol Convention. There was a question about Marpol Convention 4 years back. Marpol is nothing but marine pollution or abbreviation. Marpol, marine pollution. MARPOL na marine pollution. That's simple. We'll try to see. ஒரு convention எப்படி simple பார்க்க முடியும், how to see it simple, how to easily remember. That all we'll discuss in the classes. But this becomes the second part. So environment, it only has 3 parts. One, basic ecology and its applications. Second, international initiatives and recent developments in that. And the third is India. So in India related, there's so much of news that comes, so much of news. For example, the recent most advertised campaign of reintroducing African cheetah into India. But for reasons unknown to us, they never said it as African cheetah reintroduction project. Because India had a different species of cheetah called as Asiatic cheetah. Asiatic cheetah had a different environmental ambience compared to African cheetah. Africa la இருக்கிற condition India la கிடையாது. There is only one existing population of Asiatic cheetah as of now, only in Iran. But Iran is not so willing to give the Asiatic cheetah to us. Then government was looking for an alternative. Okay, what we do? Like Indian heroes, even after 60 years, they act as heroes, right? Thanks to graphics, they can do impossible things even at the age of 60, 70. Like makeup and CG. So நம்ம பாலிசியில மேக்கப் அண்ட் சிஜி என்னன்னா ஆப்பிரிக்கன் சீட்டாவை உள்ள கொண்டு வருது. But so strategically they named it as cheetah reintroduction project. That is the name familiarized everywhere. It is not called as African cheetah reintroduction project. Because the moment the word African comes, everybody thinks, oh, you are bringing African cheetah into India. Then we may have a different view about the whole initiative. But to have a kind of, to cloud it and to circumvent that criticism, it is simply called as Cheetah Reintroduction Project. Actually, 18 cheetahs were intended to be taken, which was later increased to higher numbers. But you know what's the current status of that project? About 4 cheetahs have died, including a cub. It gave birth. Immediately, many news reports come, oh, the project is going to be successful. Ah, wait, let the cub grows. It died actually. So, in fact, this is not what normally happens in nature. Everything what the animals you bring, when you let them in the wild, they may not survive. It needs down the line about 10-15 years to settle down, to become accustomed to the new area. It needs 10-15 years. So this Cheetah Reintroduction Project. Let's go by the official name, right? African Cheetah Reintroduction Project. So that's a very important. India Patti Varumodi in the Mari important initiatives news comes that has to be covered. So that we will cover in current affairs. We will have a separate classes called as current affairs, so that you don't have to worry about it. I'm saying Indian initiatives like Cheetah Reintroduction Project. And second, most important from Indian perspective, in the third aspect, this is very important because it is important. Indian environmental laws. You need to have a kind of at least an awareness. You may not be so well versed with that, but you need to have an awareness about important provisions of Indian environmental laws. So what are the environmental laws? Let me tell you. There are only few. There are not a whole gamut of laws I'm talking about. Only few environmental laws. First and the foremost is Wildlife Protection Act 1972. In the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 includes as everything that you mostly know of: national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, conservation reserves, community reserves, chief wildlife warden, National Board for Wildlife NBWL, Animal Wildlife Board. This previous year question. And all this comes from that one single law, Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Very important law. Tiger reserves, National Tiger Conservation Authority, NTCA, they all come from the single act, Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So that act is an important part of your preparation that comes in the third aspect. That we will discuss in our classes. But you need to have a map. What are we going to discuss in our classes? We are going to cover all this. So important laws, what are they? First one, Wildlife Protection Act 1972. The second most important is the Environmental Protection Act 1986. That's the second most important law. Environmental Protection Act 1986. EPA 1986. That's the second most important law. And the third is Forest Conservation Act 1980. Forest Conservation Act 1980. Forest Conservation Act 1980 nama pathona. You know, there is a famous comedy in a Tamil movie acted by Vivek, the former actor Vivek. He used to kind of an vigilante who goes and asks and brings justice to people who, whenever they make a mistake. There is one person who is kind of like a minor. You know, Tamil they call it as a minor. So that's a very funny sequence that comes. The point in this is a minor who first pays a fine and then commit the mistake. He pays a fine and then commit a mistake. I don't know how. This is kind of the same thing that comes in forest conservation in 1980. It's like a minor mistake. It's a and the minor mistake, in the law which you a major mistake. It's not a minor actually. Actually Of course, we need forest land for development, right? Forest land holds many resources. It holds resources for mines. It provides opportunity for many industries. So we need to clear the forest. Yeah. But if we clear the forest, of course, we are losing our important natural resource, trees. அப்ப என்ன பண்றாங்கன்னா, we'll do one thing. I'll give you forest land, 1 acre. For every acre of the forest land you clear, you plant a tree somewhere. Minor. அதென்ன பண்றாங்க மைனர்? You pay the fine and you commit a mistake. This is called as compensatory afforestation. Compensation பண்றாங்க. And what they do, they plant the trees, afforestation. It's called as compensatory afforestation, an important concept. Compensatory afforestation, that actually is covered here. Forest Conservation Act 1980. Compensatory afforestation, that we will discuss in the class, but I want to expose you about the important topics. The third act, Forest Conservation Act 1980. Then the next act is Forest Rights Act 2006. Forest Rights Act 2006. In fact, if you ask me, this is one of a piece of legislation that I have a personal love towards it. Because very rarely Indian Parliament accepts the mistakes that they had done. Most often they make an attempt to justify that, right? Ana in the act la pathina, they accept the mistake that they had committed. To whom, you may ask question? The question is to forest dwellers. Because in our aspiration towards the growth, we considered a forest as something that we have to invest with, and therefore the forest dwellers have become collateral damage. They become collateral damage because we need forests. We started evicting them. They lose their homes. They lose their livelihood. Everything have been lost. So Forest Rights Act 2006 wanted to give a set of rights to the forest dwellers and their community. It's called as individual rights and community rights. In every act, when you see act, okay, of course you're going to see a lot of acts in your preparation. And the act, initially an act begins with an objective. What is the objective of the act? Now, I personally love this act because if possible, try to go and see what is the objective of Forest Rights Act 2006. It says this Forest Rights Act 2006 is an attempt to correct the historic injustice meted out to the tribals. ஒரு லால் இப்படி சொல்றது ரொம்ப rare. It accepts there is an historic injustice to the tribals and they want to correct it by investing individual rights and community rights to these people, the hapless people. This act is very important. இதுல இருந்து நிறைய questions வந்திருக்காங்க, like minor forest produce, MFP ன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஒரு ஃபாரஸ்ட் இருக்குன்னா மேஜர் ஃபாரஸ்ட் ப்ரொடியூஸ் என்னன்னா timber, but that is not allowed. You cannot cut a tree, but what are the leaves that falls you can collect it, because you're not killing a tree, right? The gums that comes, the medicinal herbs, you can collect it and sell it. Don't cut the tree. You go into the forest, you collect what is economically important for you, you sell it. இந்த மாதிரி ரைட்ஸ் தராங்க. So Forest Rights Act 2006 is very essential piece of act when it comes to tribal rights. That act is very important. And comes a last one. Of course, whenever there are laws, there will be multiple conflicts and it needs to be adjudicated. Our existing district courts, high courts and the Supreme Court is already encumbered with major cases where dependency is very high. So we need to have a dedicated court for environmental conflicts. We need to kind of fast track court for only environmental cases. இல்லையா? அப்ப அதுக்கு தனியா ஒரு ஆக்ட் கொண்டு வராங்க, நேஷனல் கிரீன் ட்ரிபியூனல் ஆக்ட் 2010. National Green Tribunal Act 2010. These are the 5 important acts that you must be familiar with in your preparation. Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Environment Protection Act 1986, Forest Conservation Act 1980, Forest Rights Act 2006, and the last one, National Green Tribunal Act 2010. Okay, so when Indian context comes, what are the major initiatives? and the next Indian laws. So this is what we need to cover in our environment preparation, and this is what we are going to cover also. This is what we are going to cover. Now the next part comes இது எங்க இருந்து படிக்கணும், where to study these areas இல்லையா. The next is these are the areas to study, but where to study அப்படின்னும் பொழுது I have already shared this with you guys earlier, but for those who came for the first time, let me share that with you. There are specific chapters in NCERT pertaining to environment. Okay, so என்ன chapters எந்த புக்குன்றதை நான் சொல்றேன், please go through that. So your preparation should start with the basics, and the basics starts with NCERT. So what are that is, let me tell you, please note it down. 9th standard science, chapter 14. Next, 10th standard science. Because in NCERT there is nothing called as a subject of environment. அப்படி ஒரு சப்ஜெக்ட் இல்லை, சயின்ஸ்னா இருக்கு. ஸோ சயின்ஸ்ல எந்த சாப்டர் என்விரான்மெண்ட்டுக்கு ரிலேட்டடா இருக்கோ நம்ம அதை மட்டும் ஃபில்டர் பண்ணணும். ஸோ அந்த சாப்டர்ஸ் ஐம் கோயிங் டு கிவ், ஐம் கிவிங் ஹியர். ஸோ 10th standard science, chapter 14, I'm sorry, chapter 15, chapter 16, 2 chapters. Then 11th standard, which one? I'm sorry, 12th standard only. That's a good one. Yes, be attentive. 12th standard biology, chapter 13, chapter 14, chapter 15, chapter 16. And then eleventh standard chemistry, chapter 14. So your basics that is required to be covered from NCERT covers only these chapters: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just 8 chapters. You cover these 8 chapters, most of the basics related to NCERT will be covered. Then your current affairs, as I said earlier, it will be covered in the classes, and you follow our material that we give, the catalyst, plus one compilation that covers the current affairs. Plus the test batches will help you to assess your preparation level and to fine tune your responses. So these 3 together constitutes what a successful preparation has to be. Right, so these are the study areas. What to study na idudha. Now coming to the last part of our session, how to prepare. Okay. How to prepare. Now this is let me tell you how to prepare அப்படின்னு சொல்லும் பொழுது the most important point I have told you, devise a plan based on the master plan I gave you. The master plan I gave you based on the timeline, right? Based on the master plan, you devise your own schedule plan. That is the foremost thing you have to do. Do not straight away take a book and start reading from chapter 1. No, that won't help you. You first have a plan and then you read. Because you take a book now, how much you're going to read today? It should not be opposite. Okay, how much ever I wish. No, that should not be your goal. I have to complete up to this much so that I can complete my target. புரியுதா உங்களுக்கு? நீங்க வெறுமனே புக் எடுத்து படிக்கிறதுக்கும் ஒரு பிளான் வச்சு படிக்கிறதுக்கும் இதான் டிஃபரன்ஸ். Those who are successful, they have a plan, they even before preparation. So first put the plan and then start reading. And the timeline ஏத்த மாதிரி break up into 3 months plan, then break up into each month plan. And if possible, try to have a week plan. Days plan போடாதீங்க. Never go for a day's plan, it's not going to work you. Okay, that's the first one. Have a study plan. Other than that, there is no special strategy for environment, guys. Nothing called a special way to prepare for environment. It is as usual with the other subjects. So no special strategy. Like how you prepare for polity, how you prepare for other subjects, it's the same with environment. Nothing special here. But what to study அப்படின்றது நான் கிளியரா சொல்லியிருந்தேன். NCERT chapters, class and class notes, current affairs one current affairs magazine plus test batches. உங்களுடைய என்விரான்மெண்ட்டுக்கு சோர்ஸ் இதுதான். These are your sources. Do not put your feet too many places. குங்ஃபு பேண்டா படம் பாத்தீங்களா? It used to steal and the master disrupts everything and it try to catch everything. No, don't be like that. Then you are in a delicate position dancing like this. Don't be like that. You select few and you master that. What are the select few? I have told you. NCERTs, class and class notes, current affairs that you have chosen. These are the just 3 plus test batches. Don't forget test batches. These are the only 4 sources that you need to rely on. So no special strategy with respect to environment. The third one, probably at some other time, in some other class we will discuss. ஒரு சாப்டரை படிக்கும்போது எப்படி ஆரம்பிக்கலாம்ன்றது will discuss. Probably some other time, not now. But next என்ன பார்க்கணும்னா, when you read, what should be the attitude you should have when you read அப்படின்றது. Most of the times you read to acquire a knowledge about the subject. You read to acquire the knowledge. You want to become familiar with that, to gain information. இதுதான் நம்மளோட main intention இருக்கும் இல்லையா? Even when you read newspaper, you want to gain knowledge and information about it. But என்ன அப்படின்னா, இது ஒரு attitude, information seeking. This is one attitude. இந்த attitude இருந்ததுன்னா you look for information. But here, what is the purpose of this information? You read newspapers, you read standard books. What is the purpose? You understand what I'm asking? I'm asking, why do you read newspapers? Why do you read the standard books? Yeah? For the content. Why do you need content? Yes? To clear? To clear the exams means to clear the questions. What is clearing the exam? Means clearing the questions. Clearing the questions means you are reading something which will help to answer the prelims questions, which will help to answer the mains questions. Correct? So what you should have a clarity on the simple fact. You are reading here to answer the questions. You are not reading for knowledge. Knowledge, of course, you gain the knowledge, but ultimately to answer the questions. To answer the questions, you need knowledge. நீங்க சொல்ற மாதிரி you seek that knowledge so that you can answer the question. That's one attitude. But you need to have another attitude also, which I would like to tell you. Try to read from an examiner's attitude also. You read from a student attitude means seeking knowledge. When you read that, you also read from an examiner perspective. First, the படிங்க. Get to know of it what it means. Means you extract the content out of it. You try to understand it. Your student role is over. இதோட நிறுத்தாதீங்க. Try to ask questions. Probably இதுல UPSC கேள்வி கேட்டா, for example, let's say you come across an important topic, don't just read it. That's a student part, but there must be an examiner part also within you that has to ask a question. What UPSC can ask here in prelims? இல்ல என்ன கேட்க முடியும்? You please ask a question yourself. What kind of a question can come from this topic for prelims, and what kind of a question can come for mains? Now let me tell you, when you ask this question and read the content, I'm telling you, your reading will be totally different now. The first reading that you do is with one attitude, the second reading with a different attitude, and this change in attitude will give a different result. If possible, I suggest you guys, but not everybody follow it. அதனால அது சொல்றது இல்லை. But நான் என்ன இருந்தாலும், but our duty is to say it, even though, right? Ideally, in your plan, right? அதாவது, I told you about a master plan based on the broad timeline of our examination. இல்லையா? அந்த broad timeline வச்சு நான் சொல்லியிருந்தேன். ஒரு டே டார்கெட்ல என்ன இருக்கணும்? ஓகே, டேல வந்து don't say from this time to that time I'm going to read. Don't have that. But in a day, you have to do certain things. That you have to repeat it. And the important activities you have to do in a day என்னன்னா, of course, you have to give at least 2 to 2.5 hours for prelims, 2 to 2.5 hours for optional. Sir, அதோடைய study quota over. It depends. You may read for 1.5 hours for prelims. For example, let's say your study time is only 5 hours. The 5 hours எப்படி split பண்ணணும் பொழுது, that's a day target. This you have to do persistently. Prelims you have to cover, optional you have to cover. How much of a time you decide based on your master plan, study plan, you decide how much of a time. But it has to include prelims, it has to include optional paper, it has to include notes taking from the news, from the Hindu, plus in the examiner attitude இருக்கு இல்லையா, ஒரு question நீங்க கேட்கலாம். Otherwise, there are many websites that also post questions on editorial. But best thing is, don't go into the website straightforward. You ask a question yourself. That is important. You try to ask a simple question. From the editorial you read, right? Ask a simple question and write introduction. No, I am not asking you to write answers. What could be an introduction to this question you asked? You read the content. What I'm asking you to do is, you ask a question. Sir, மெயின்ஸ்ல இந்த கொஸ்டின் என்னவா இருக்க முடியும் இந்த டாபிக்ல? ஒருவேளை UPSC chooses this topic, what kind of a question it can ask? Write the question, and then நீங்க படிச்சிருக்கீங்க இல்லையா, try to write a 4-liner introduction or a 5-liner introduction. You do this regularly. You will not understand the usefulness of this when you do it for the first day or second day, but you do it down the line. I'm telling you, it won't take more than 10 minutes. Reading the editorial, it may take about 30 minutes. But doing this won't take more than 10 minutes. Do this. Only when you do, I'm telling you, the enjoy of reading is in getting something extracted out of it. எதுக்கு படிக்கிறீங்கன்னா, எக்ஸாம்காக படிக்கிறீங்க. ஆனா என்ன ப்ராப்ளம்னா, most often, that's a problem I see with many UPSC students. Their preparation for content, their preparation for exam orientation is diverse. But I want you to merge them together. I want you all to receive information, and you should also know the knack of how to use information in exams. இது ரெண்டு தனித்தனி விஷயமா பண்ண முடியாது. You can, okay, I will read now, and after some time I will read for exams. You cannot do separately like that. You have to do simultaneously. You read the information, and you know how to use the information in exams. And how to use the information in exams, it comes only by writing answers. புரியுதா? இந்த writing answers எதுக்கு பண்ணணும்னா, editorial படிச்சிட்டு you have to write an first introduction எழுதுங்க, because you are now starting your preparation. I won't ask you to write full answer. அது வேணாம், introduction மட்டும் எழுதுங்க. Let that be a good start. Do the same for optional also. Optional படிக்கிறீங்களா, அதுல கூட ஒரு topic, what the topic you have chosen, you write an introduction for the topic. You just think of a simple question, write an introduction. Let me tell you, your brain has to be plastic enough to think on the spot. Examination hall mains la ukandinga, you will be asked 20 questions, you will be given 3 hours, 20 different topics. You need to have flexibility in your thinking to derive an introduction, the body of the answer, and the conclusion. That plasticity come only by practice. Most of the UPSC aspirants, they read, but very rarely they write. They read a lot, but they write very less. எப்போ ஆக்சுவலாக சீரியஸ் எழுத ஆரம்பிக்கிறாங்கன்னா, ப்ரிலிம்ஸ்க்கு அப்புறமா தான் they seriously start writing, only particularly after getting prelims succeeded. But then there will be very little time, only 3.5 months they have. Once the prelims is over, they have only 3.5 months. It's not going to be very useful. So I'm telling you, daily target, how much time you can do, that's up to you. But you must do these important activities. You have to devote some time for your prelims preparation, some time for your optional preparation, some time for your Hindu editorial reading and a glance of the newspaper, just a glance. Okay? Possibly not more than 1 hour or 45 minutes. Do not spend the time more than 45 minutes. And then 10 to 15 minutes for 2 answers. One for GS, one for optional. This is regular. So how to prepare? I will say, have an examiner's attitude. It is not in one grand step that you jump to success. You take small steps that takes you to heights. ஒரே ஜம்ப்ல போனீங்கன்னா ஒரே ஜம்ப்ல கீழே வந்துருவீங்க. It is a small steps that is done continuously that you raise heights. இதெல்லாம் தான் small steps. Any successful persons you do, you see, this is what they should have done. And having this attitude, as I said earlier, you need to have 2 personalities of a student personality and an examiner personality, and only when that acts together, now that your preparation will take a different dimensions. So there's a third one which I would like to share with you guys, and the last part is how to solve questions. That's the next one. But that will be part that we will discuss after the test batch have started. So test batch that we will discuss. So that's not an agenda for now. In the November, October, test batches will start for you guys, which will help you to revise what has been covered so far and also helps you to devise your plan. So these are the 4 aspects which I like to tell you on how to prepare any subject, but more particularly with respect to the environment. Okay, so environment, to sum it up, you want to clear prelims examination, you cannot do so by avoiding environment. You have to go through that. Classes will help you to understand the basics, have no doubt with that. So the next task, how to prepare, and I will tell you, don't miss the classes. Don't miss the classes, because what you read, but when the same topic is taught in the classes, that's a different that's a different scenario. So do not miss that scenario. Don't think that self-reading will help you, that I can skip the classes. It doesn't matter. Only when it is so unavoidable because of some other issues or physical ailments, then it's okay. But other than that, push yourself. இன்னைக்கு வேணாம்னு தோணுச்சா அப்போதான் you need to condition yourself. No, I'm going to fight my inner tendencies to go to be as committed as required. Sometimes தோணும், இன்னைக்கு ரொம்ப டயர்டா இருக்கு, இன்னைக்கு கிளாஸ் ஸ்கிப் பண்ணலாமா? Fight it. So it is only with this fighting of your inner nature that your habits will change, and it is a change of the habits that will take you near to success. There is one famous saying, Repeating the same thing again and again and expecting a different result is a foolishness. Repeating the same thing again and again, பண்ணதே திரும்ப பண்ணிட்டு இருந்துட்டு ரிசல்ட் மட்டும் மாறுமா? இது வரைக்கும் நான் வந்தது அதான் வரும். You repeat what you have been doing, but you expect a different result, it's a foolishness. You have to change. Unless you change, results won't change. Right? So success varanona, there are certain important ingredients. One of the most important ingredient is do not succumb to your inner compulsions. Do not succumb, do not become a prey to the inner compulsions. Fight it. You know, if you fight it once, you fight it twice, I'm telling you, then it becomes a practice. That's what it's an ethical conversation between Ram and Ravan. The last day before day, when the fighting is about to end, it was a very intense fight. Of course, last climax is a fight over. It's almost an intense fight. And I'm not talking about Adi Purush. You heard about Adi Purush, right? It seems to be a mockery of the whole epic. Fine. And thanks to Hanuman, they wanted to give one seat in every theaters where Adi Purush was telecast, and memes were coming. Don't worry, we will leave every seat free for Hanuman. It was a complete mockery. Okay, fine. Okay, that away. The last day before the battle was over, the conversation going on between Ram and Ravan, the day is about to end, and it's a very intense fight, and almost the Ravan, he was almost like being devoid of weapons, because Ram has neutralized every weapon that he had. It's almost in the verge of success. But at dusk, and according to Kshatriya Dharma, you cannot fight a battle after the sunset is over. There are a list of Kshatriya Dharmas. One of that is you should not fight. Then Raman says, let's stop the fight today. We'll fight tomorrow. Then Ravan said back, you don't know about me. You don't know the power that I hold. You leave me alive today, that you cannot understand what I can bring tomorrow. So don't give chances to me. இது சொன்னதுதான் Ram gives a reply. It's a famous reply in Tamil. Tamil students, they knew it. Indru poi naleva. You go today and come back tomorrow, no problem. Then Lakshmanan is kind of a very emotional person, very emotionally. He's not very composed like that. Yeah, why did you leave him alive? You should have taken the chance. We are waiting to rescue Sita for long now. This is an opportunity. Then what if he comes more stronger tomorrow? Ram says, this is what you need to understand. He says that if I can win him once, I can win him twice. If I can win Ravan today, then what can stop me from winning tomorrow? Right? Once you know how to, this is not just about the story, this is about life lesson. If you know how to fight that inner instincts once, then slowly the resistance to those desires slowly develops. Never succumb to the desires. It's like adding fuel to the fire. You can never satisfy a desire by enjoying it. I'm telling you, it adds fuel to the fire. So remember, classic varavana. Test it. I think Vana, I think it's okay. Never ever miss it. Because what I'm telling you is, unglode in the 1.5 year journey that you're going to have with us is that you will never know in which class, in which time a concept is taught will help you in the exam. You'll never know that. You'll know it only when you go to the examination. So நீங்க வரல, ஒருவேளை அன்னைக்கு ஏதாவது சொல்லி இருந்தது உங்களுக்கு ஏதோ ஒரு வகையில ஹெல்ப் பண்ணி இருந்ததுன்னா, who knows? Never miss a chance, because everything you come here, sitting here 2.5 hours every day is to clear the exam. So never miss the classes. Okay, never miss the classes. You may have a lot of things to do something different than this, but never get diverted away. And the last thing is, avoid YouTube as much as possible unless it is necessary. For content you can see, but for strategy, please don't see YouTubes or websites. That is total waste of time. It will add more confusion than the clarity. Okay, so avoid YouTubes and other social medias. For guidance, you visit us, you come to us. We are here to guide you, to see you in person, to understand what condition you are. YouTubeல பேசுறவங்கள உங்களை பத்தி தெரியாது. What particular specific condition you are in, they have no idea. So don't follow that. Okay, but for content, you can see sparingly. And one other thing which I told you, that you can have it as a habit. You need to develop lot of skills, friends. Reading skills. Now you're listening, right? நிறைய சமயம் நீங்க listen பண்ணும்போது sometimes your mind wandered somewhere and you strain it back into the class. Reading skills. Then you have to write. Taking notes is a writing skill. Then analytical skill. இது எல்லாமே எக்ஸாம் கிளியர் பண்றதுக்கு வேணும். Reading, writing, analytical, and the next most important is listening skill. Hearing is not listening. புரிஞ்சுக்கங்க, hearing is not listening. They're totally different. Listening is understanding the person's communication. Hearing is mechanically getting it in the brain. That's hearing. But I'm talking listening skill. The listening skill க்கு முக்கியமா நீங்க என்ன பண்ணணும்னா, இப்ப என்ன பாக்குறீங்க, you see me and then you hear me. ஆனா நீங்க வெறும் listen மட்டும் பண்ணீங்கன்னா தான் உங்களோட listening skill gets honed better. You don't have to see, you only have to listen. That is why, for example, when you sit in interview or when a question is asked, most often we are confounded with a lot of sensory inputs. AC for interview போய் உட்கார்ந்திருக்கீங்க, there is a very cold room. Sometimes they test that also. They intentionally decrease the temperature or intentionally warm it. Even in the discomfort, how you handle yourself emotionally, I'm telling you, all this happens. It's a very subtle way of playing with your personality. They will put chair in a weird way, different. Do you adjust it? Simple things. Do you adjust it? Of course, you have to ask permission before sitting. அதெல்லாம் விட்டுருங்க. You see the persons, that is a certain ambience, you feel cold. So உங்க பாடியில பாத்தீங்கன்னா there is a surge of sensory input. ரொம்ப சில்லா இருக்கு. The visual input, they asking questions, auditory input. But இதுல முக்கியம் என்னன்னா, the auditory input is very important because you need to very clearly understand the question they ask. You have to diverse yourself from everything else and you have to listen the question very carefully. Correct? So you need a listening skill, very important. இதுக்கு பெஸ்ட் பிராக்டிஸ் நான் என்ன சொல்லுவேன்னா, ரைட்டிங்க்கு ஐம் டெல்லிங் யூ ரைட் எவ்ரி டே. ரீடிங் அஃப்கோர்ஸ் யூ ஆர் ரீடிங். விஷுவல் ஸ்கில்லும் பிரச்சனை இல்லை, யூ ஆர் லுக்கிங் அட் அதெல்லாம் பாக்குறீங்க. பட் லிசனிங் என்ன பண்ண போறீங்க? வாட் ஆர் யூ கோயிங் டு டு ஃபார் லிசனிங், விச் வி லேக் தி மோஸ்ட். இன்ஃபேக்ட் என்னை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் ஒன் ஆஃப் தி மோஸ்ட் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் ஸ்கில் தட் students are not taught in the colleges or in the school என்னன்னா listening skill. When a person talks, very often we lose a touch with the talk, that we go wander off and come and join later, missing the whole journey in the middle. We travel only in breaks. We travel together. வெளியே போயிட்டு அப்படியே wander ஆயிட்டு join, திரும்ப வெளியே போயிட்டு join ஆகுது. Listening skill is very important. I'm telling you, to develop the listening skill, one simple strategy I'll tell you is use radio. ரேடியோல விஷுவல் கிடையாது. You have to only listen. All India Radio, I think I told earlier to the pre-foundation class, All India Radio daily 93.4 frequency la 9 to 9:30, just a half an hour. 9 to 9:30 is kind of a free time now. Just a headphone போட்டுட்டு அத கேளுங்க. 15 minutes they will give a summary of the current affairs. நீங்க அத listen பண்ணாதான் உங்களுக்கு புரியும். You listen to 9 to 9:15 current affairs, news வரும். அந்த நியூஸ் தான் நெக்ஸ்ட் டே நியூஸ் பேப்பர்ல வரும். So it's like a revision. 9 to 9:15 you listen to radio. 9:15 to 9:30 they will give what is called a summary, a news summary. They talk about an important issue of the day. 15 minutes they bring experts like even secretaries, ambassadors, they come and they talk about a particular issue. For example, India US meet is something very important. Now probably they will talk a lot about this in that 9:15 to 9:30 part. So listening skill improve பண்றதுக்கு listen to radio, particularly ரெண்டு மட்டும் பண்ணுங்க, 9 to 9:30. Because listening பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா, what I'm telling is you need to have some use out of that also. So radio, listening to FM radio 93.4 Gold FM will be very helpful. It also gives you content. Notes la edukka venam. You don't have to take notes. Don't waste time. Simply plug in, sit in a corner, try to focus to what they talk and listen. This will give you a better opportunity to hone your listening skills. Okay? It's a very easy thing. உங்களோட டெய்லி விஷயத்துல இது சொன்னதை மட்டும் பண்ணுங்க. You do it regularly. Probably நீங்க ஒரு குறிப்பிட்ட டைமுக்கு அப்புறமா you don't have to read, you don't have to listen to radio. But the beauty is, the moment you do a certain activity regularly, you cannot stop it. That becomes a habit. நீங்க நிறுத்தணும்னு நினைச்சாலும் you become so used to that. But what I'm saying is, அந்த phase வரும்போது நீங்க நிறுத்திடலாம். If you want to stop, you can stop. But initially you have to do that. So these are the basic skills that are required. And how to, அதாவது என்ன ஸ்கில் வேணும் இந்த எக்ஸாம் கிளியர் பண்றதுக்கு? ரீடிங், ரைட்டிங், அனாலிட்டிக்கல், லிசனிங். இந்த ஒவ்வொரு ஸ்கில்லையும் எப்படி ட்ரெயின் ஆக போறீங்க? Classes will give you only the information, content, but the skill can come only by your own commitment, by your own practice. Okay? Writing skill, classes cannot give you directly. You have to do it. If I give you a question and ask you to write, it is your choice whether to write or not. I cannot force you. But you need to know that I'm committed to this examination and to this process, and I trust the suggestion given to me, and I will follow it, because this is the way to success. This is the easy way to success. So நான் என்னோட விஷயத்தை பண்ணலாமா? Success ஆகலாம், but it's a long winding way. You have to travel 2-3 years to understand the nuances. You know where it fails, you know where it succeeds. You find in yourself. Then 4th to 5th later years, you get the success. But after seeing many students, we knew what works and what don't work. So we're suggesting you. Okay? So try to follow this. And my best wishes for your fantastic preparation ahead. Just enjoy the process. This will be a beautiful journey, kind of a different phase of your life. And this preparation phase will help not only for UPSC preparation, but for your life skill as well. Once you dedicate yourself to a task and do it, I'm telling you, a serious UPSC aspirant can succeed in any job where they go. So this is kind of an opportunity for a better life, not only as a civil service officer, but in fact for any career that you choose. So my best wishes for you all that. So skill பாருங்க, knowledge மட்டும் இந்த preparation பார்க்காதீங்க. Do not see this preparation only by accumulating knowledge, but also getting and gaining the important skills. Okay? So this is what I would like to share with you guys in this first warm-up session.